You know, one of the benefits of a show like ours is that we get to go beyond the surface of stories to really get in depth on the issues. And we often follow up on them and see how they've changed over time. Well, one of those stories has to do with the school board down in Newberg. Last week, we told you about some big financial issues in the district. It's suddenly millions of dollars in the hole. That news came as a real surprise to the school board. But after checking our archives, maybe it should not have been so surprising. It's our big story tonight. Let's start with a bit of background. We started early covering Newberg back in 2021. It was a story that just kept on developing and kept on giving. First, a conservative majority was elected to the school board, and one of the big changes they made was to ban Black Lives Matter and pride displays at schools. The board extended the ban to anything that they deemed a political symbol. The ban drew a lot of protests and backlash, and the superintendent at the time, Joe Morlock, said he would not enforce the ban because he believed it was not constitutional. So the conservative board on the school board fired him. That decision led to a lot more backlash. There were protests outside the district headquarters, and the board's more liberal minority spoke out against it. Here's what former school board member Brandy Penner told the rest of the board after Morlock was fired in November of 2021.
And I am certain that this will have rippling effects for months and years to come. And I doubt that all four of you will even be here when the rebuilding really gets to beginning and when it really starts to happen. This is going to set our district back a decade. And not only that, but like I said in my opening statements, it is our children who will suffer. And it feels that that is the point. I fully expect that this will just be added to the mountain of litigation that these four board members have currently got us into.
Well, yes, indeed. We are going to check back in with Brandy in just a minute. That statement was 2.5 years ago, by the way. In that time, the district lost several lawsuits over the political symbols ban, and guess what? It was deemed unconstitutional. Now, most of the conservative majority of the board was later voted out. One of them did resign. But before that happened, they hired a controversial new superintendent named Stephen Phillips. Phillips had been the superintendent of the Newberg School District, where he was placed on administrative leave during an investigation into the way he handled abuse claims. And before that, he was forced to resign as the deputy superintendent of the Beaverton district for sharing derogatory social media posts about immigrants. Now he's facing calls to resign from the Newberg district over this newfound budget crisis. Last month, an independent auditor told the school board they're about $4 million in debt, and they have until the end of this month to figure it out. The biggest areas where the budget was overspent include special education and transportation, but the school board and the superintendent's offices are also hundreds of thousands of dollars in the red. Superintendent Phillips says it all happened because the district got less money from the state than they were expecting and that student needs were higher than expected. The school board said this news came as a real shock that they'd been told repeatedly by Phillips. They say that the district would end the year with a big surplus.
I guess I'm more curious about how we got here with the numbers that we've been having compared to all of a sudden this. I'm confused. I think I'm not alone. I don't know if there are answers or if this is the time or place, but this is bad. This is really not good.
That is correct. The current board was surprised, but when we got in touch with Brandy Penner this week, remember her from earlier? Well, a former school board member who predicted some of this back in 2021 says she saw the writing on the wall.
If there was ever going to be something to be completely wrong about, I desperately wish it had been this. But it was incredibly clear from the beginning that the majority four board members were not making decisions in the best interest of children. They were not making decisions in the best interest of our financial standing as a district. And I knew that that was going to continue. There was nothing necessarily to stop them while they were in those positions, and they had free reign to do that. And I think what's happening now is the ripple effect and the repercussions of all of those actions that were put in place, in 2021.
Penner says this is not the first time the district has been in financial trouble and that they and the former superintendent had worked for years to make sure it would not be back in the red. And yet, here they are.
So when I joined the board in 2017, we did not even have an ending fund balance policy at all. And so every year it was kind of like, well, whatever's left over, that's our ending fund balance. So when I joined in 2017, I think our ending fund balance that year was like a little over $100,000, which is horrible for a district budget, that at the time was around, I believe around $60 million. And so as a board, we came together and said, oh my gosh, we're not being fiscally responsible by not ensuring that we have these funds at the end of every year. So we created that policy, and then we ensured that district leadership held to that, and they did grow that fund. And, when I left, both of the appropriated and non-appropriated ending fund balances were both multi-million dollar. And to see it go so quickly, I think that is what has been a little bit shocking to me in all of this is the level of ineptness and mismanagement is just glaring. And so to go from being able to build up a multi-million dollar reserve to ensure stability in the district to now having, a potentially negative $14 million deficit over, I think it's now like 24% of the budget it's unconscionable. There's no way that in any other setting, there wouldn't be mass resignation from leadership in this situation.
Well, as a result of that, the kids in Newberg are going to see significant cuts over the next school year, cuts to staff, and there are already discussions happening about potential furlough days for staff as well. And speaking of Newberg and political symbols, police there are now investigating a possible bias crime after someone fired what appears to be a BB gun at a pride flag that was hanging in the window of the public library. Every year for Pride Month, the Newberg Library hangs the flag there, but someone took a shot at it last night.
I was angry, and I was also profoundly disappointed that somebody would do this. I'm hoping that someone has to pay restitution for this.
We'll see. Today, Newberg's mayor told the library staff to put more of the flags up to show that they will not be intimidated.